Mwah! Did you feel that? I felt it from my heart. Welcome to another edition of Treasure Tuesdays. We have an amazing question from somebody named Katie. Hi, Katie. Katie writes to the radiant Veronica. Congratulations on your first book. Thank you. I finished it on my day off yesterday and loved it. I was moved to tears, particularly in the last chapter. There is one lingering question I have after reading the book that I would love to hear addressed, perhaps in a video. In centering the spiritual path around our shadow side, do we run the risk of attracting more triggers into our experience? I can't help but wonder how to do this work without feeling like my life is revolving around my triggers. I absolutely believe in the message of your book. The work you describe is essential to the path. Sending you blessings from the Northwest with gratitude, Katie. Katie, thank you, Sister Soul, for your question, and I'm so glad that you enjoyed the book and are applying the work. So, there is a clue in your whole question that's really powerful. It's really a distinction I want to make. So you basically say that what do you say? In centering the spiritual path around our shadow side, do we run the risk of attracting more triggers into our experience? First of all, the main thing I want to say here is that we're not focusing the goal and the path of really stepping into the diamond self, your true self, being totally free, awake, conscious, in love with life, jazzed about every single day, living on purpose, has nothing to do with revolving the path around your triggers or the shadow. Nothing. Zippo. Boom, boom, boom. What it does have to do with is revolving the path around, that's right, the present moment. So the entire purpose of the Diamond Process book is to assist us in waking up to the present moment. And the reason the subtext or the subtitle of the book is using everyday triggers to awaken the treasure within is because when we are focused in on the present moment, and I'll explain why we would even want to be focused on the present moment. When we're focused into the present moment, naturally anything that we have repressed inside, any pain, any suffering, anything that no longer serves us, when we are really truly present, is going to come up in order to be cleared so that we can vibrate at the highest possible frequency and the highest possible level. So basically, there are various dimensions of being human. We are multi-dimensional beings. And to put that in a really grounded way, we have our mental bodies, which are pretty much in the Western world, we are totally identified with the mind. We are thinking constantly. It's like what Eckhart Tolle or Leonard Jacobson would call the ultimate addiction to thinking, really believing our thoughts and getting swirled in tomorrow and the past, and what did that person think about me, and what do I think about that person, and all of these stories, right, that we tell ourselves. The path to ultimate freedom is to establish ourselves in a much more expansive, actually an infinite dimension. That infinite dimension is accessed when we focus our awareness as much of the time as possible into the present moment. So right here and right now, the present moment, you know when you're in the present moment. Number one, when you're breathing. Notice when you're, if you think about something right now that you're really, really consumed by, and just start thinking about it. Notice what happens to your breath. Or if you squeeze your hand really, really, really tight with me right now, squeeze your hand really, really tight. Squeeze, 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 harder, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze harder, harder, harder. What's happening to your breath? If you release your palm, the breath immediately starts to circulate. When we're holding on to thoughts, we stop breathing. And we leave the present moment entirely and ultimately leave our position of power. And so then we feel like victims in the world being swept back and forth by all of these thoughts that are just like a swirl or a hurricane of thought debris. So we know we're in the present moment when number one, we're breathing. And number two, we are focused on something that's actually here in the moment with us. Something that we can see, something we can hear, something we can taste, touch, feel. Any of those work. So I like to close my eyes when I feel drained or lost. It's typically because I'm lost in my mind in a story about the past or the future. upset, regretting the past, or feeling anxious about the future, it's a typical sign of realizing, okay, I'm totally lost right now and disconnected from my diamonds, from the diamond self, from the truth, from my true self. So what I like to do is come into shine time and come into the breath and feel my heart beating. Even if I can't feel it, just tuning into my body and getting really, really present with the way my body feels. And if I have an ache in my body, I just breathe into it. If I feel spacious somewhere, I breathe into it. If I feel joy in my heart, I just feel it and I breathe into it. If I hear a bird chirping, those are the ultimate teachers. And focus on a flower or a bird or something that's really easy to look at in the moment, something really here that you can touch. Then you immediately awaken to the truth of life, to the truth of who you are. And so again, the focus of this path is to come into the present moment as much of the time as possible. Now, the challenge with being in the present moment is that anything that is in the way of us being totally and utterly trusting and in the present moment will arise typically. So we don't actually go looking for pain or shadow, like facets of ourselves that we've denied. But in being present, you may notice like a sensation that doesn't feel good, and suddenly you start thinking your way out of it, right? Or, you know, somebody says something to you, or maybe you've judged yourself in a conversation with someone and you suddenly start to feel like you want to cry. So the work in the Diamond Process book is to start, I won't get into it in this video, but it's to start working with that stuff so that we can clear what I call the rubble. And the rubble, you can picture this gorgeous diamond that you are. And around that diamond is rubble, that's just needing to be chiseled away at in order to reveal that precious, powerful presence that you already are, always have been, always will be. It's just temporarily covered. And so the repressed unconscious beliefs and blocks of locked emotion, the rubble, are simply doorways to start freeing ourselves from that weight, from that burden. So I'm going to demonstrate with you with a story of, you know, the difference between somebody who, I'll let the story speak for itself. Imagine a baby. And this baby is in a shopping center and sitting on a marble floor, really cold and really scared and crying hysterically. Screaming, Rah! In the middle of this shopping center. And there are two mothers. Mother A runs straight up to the baby and holds her, picks her up to her heart and starts to embrace her so dearly. Breathing into her, letting her cry, saying, baby, I'm here with you. I love you so much. It's okay. You're safe. I'm not leaving. I'm here. Breathing, being present with her. And the baby continues to cry until the baby lets out that emotion and then maybe falls asleep. Just rests and can breathe again. Mother number two, Mother B, sees the baby crying on the marble floor and the baby's screaming, and Mother B runs straight up to the baby in a panic. What are you doing? Stop crying. Stop it. Oh my God, you're so loud. And so stop crying. You need to stop right now. And the baby starts wailing, screaming louder, freaking out, feeling totally scared even bigger. No one's there. Oh my God, terrified. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like the anxiety goes up because now she's feeling the mother's anxiety on top of her own, and it just builds and escalates. And the mother is like looking around like, oh my God, I hope nobody sees and nobody's upset about the baby crying, and she's totally concerned about what others are going to think. And that baby just keeps crying, or freezes out of terror if the mother's really intense. And those tears, where do you think they go? They go into the body somewhere and they store up inside the tissues, you know, inside the physical body. That's just basic somatic healing. If you look at the physical body is completely tied to the emotional body. So that which we don't express typically gets stored in the body. And if not addressed and not released, it eventually can become disease. Or like something subtle. If you feel a pain somewhere and you address it then, you know, and you breathe into it, you may start to release it. That's a whole nother topic. But it's easy to work with that stuff before it gets too loud. So you can see a very distinct difference. The path of the diamond self is very clearly the path of Mother A. Becoming, like you said in your question, Katie, that like raising your vibration to a level that you can love and accept anything. Meaning you can love and accept any part of you. And the work is all internal. It's all about coming into deep, radical compassion. I just realized we have Kuan Yin with us. Kuan Yin is a really beautiful demonstration of compassion. And, yeah. She's actually seated on a lotus, and there is no mud. There's no lotus flower without the mud. So in the same way, it's like looking at all the mud, looking at all the stuff in our lives from this place of compassion. And when we can be that high frequency, be that loving mother or loving father in the midst of whatever's coming up, there's no need to chase what the law of attraction talks about. Because rather than chasing something that's going to feel good, you just naturally, when you're in this high vibration, you naturally gravitate towards things that feel good. And let's say there's a screaming baby, rather than freaking out over like, what is somebody going to think? Or, oh my God, I'm so stressed. When you're vibrating at a high level, your cup is full. And when your cup is full from being present and not being so lost in the mind, it's so easy to be present in a circumstance that most people would want to run away from. So imagine the power of not chasing your triggers or centering your life around the shadow, but the power of being so present and so healthy and so self-loyal, so loyal to your own soul, that when a screaming baby, i.e. that's just an outer example, but like let's say an emotion comes up in you where you just feel outraged or you feel sad, depressed, anxious, rather than trying to cover yourself up and feel great and do the law of attraction so nobody notices and let me like be great so I attract more greatness. The problem with that is that inside there's a baby. Like you can think of your emotions like little children, like little orphaned kids. And it's our job, if you really want to embody this like radical level of peace, joy, prosperity, love, inspiration, clarity, freedom, empowerment, truth, if you really want to experience that in your life, then it's about being that powerful presence that is able to embrace every one of those orphan children, orphan children, and just like bring them back home. So you can see the distinct difference. Most people are functioning in our world like Mother B, battling life. Oh my God, the life is happening to me. This baby's screaming. I don't have time for this, because there is this deep, deep, deep disconnection from self, from the present moment, and ultimately from source, which is infinite in supply of love, of care, of kindness, of guidance. And then you have mother number one, who's so connected to the truth that it just becomes easy. And it all starts with how we are with ourselves. So it all comes down to self-love. So to answer your question, like to really sum it up, the path that I demonstrate in the Diamond Process book, and there are many paths, it's not just this path, there are many paths that can guide. There are millions of paths, billions of paths really, because each one of us has our own unique path. And even you reading the book I've written, you're going to find a unique path within some of the tools you use within the book. So, and the way you find might inspire somebody else. So we're all like this network of leaders of love that are finding our unique path that may help illuminate the path for someone else or someone else's. So the key is that more and more of us step into such a degree of self-love, such a powerful, that dimension I talked about at the beginning of this video of self-love that's like so radical and so consistent that no matter what arises, we stop running away and we stop the fight or flight. So the main tool, like the treasure tool I want to offer, because conceptually, yeah, this all sounds great. Like, how good would it to be able to walk through life totally at peace, no matter what's going on? If someone's judging you, or if the entire world is judging you, and you still feel loving and clear and congruent internally, like, I know who I am, I'm a good soul, I'm on a good path, I love who I am, I love what I'm doing, I'm valuable, I'm worthy, I am the way, I am just a divine instrument of, grace and ease and truth and beauty, whatever, just like really tuning into that higher frequency naturally. Imagine being that and not needing to chase the light or to chase good things in order to feel good. Imagine if your state was so pure inside and so incredibly whole. It's like being the eye of the storm. So regardless of what's going on around you, you just are that Kuan Yin, you are that presence. So that's what this is about. And the treasure tool that I find is the most useful is meditation, for sure. And so if you would just take a few breaths with me right now, it doesn't have to be sitting for 40 minutes, in lotus position. It's just every now and then. In this moment together, we're in this timeless state. Just bringing your awareness away from everything I shared, because that's all in the past, and just start to come into your breath. And just notice how you're feeling in your body right now. And just notice how you have the power to bring your awareness to your breath again and again and again. And you may even close your eyes and bring your gaze to the third eye. And if your eyes are open, simply focus your attention on one spot. Maybe a crystal. Just focusing on that crystal. And as you breathe, or a candle works really well. And just starting to settle a little more deeply, just relaxing your jaw, relaxing your hips, relaxing your shoulders, staying with your breath. Just noticing how right now, coming into the space of just this moment, dropping the agenda for tomorrow and the past. And it's like plugging into a socket every time you just take 10 deep breaths and are genuinely present with your body, with yourself. And just whisper inside, just like Mother A whispered to that baby, or said to that baby, I'm here. I'm here with you, honey. I'm not leaving. And literally breathing, bringing breath to, you can imagine whatever you're feeling, no matter how challenged you feel right now. Imagine that feeling that you feel, or it might be bliss. Whatever that feeling is, imagine that feeling is like an orphaned child. And you're literally breathing into that orphan child and bringing her back. And so you are not the feeling, you are not even your personality. You're not the person you think you are. You're not the person the job you have, the person everyone thinks you are, not the relationship you're in, not your bank account. And if you're not all that stuff and you're not your body, then who are you? And so you can imagine the one who is able to see this beautiful child yet not be identified with it. Just the one who's aware of everything but not thinking, just aware, can see life happening without any drama or attachment. And just notice from that place, the breath, you can bring the breath into that part of you, like an orphan child, like resuscitating that part of you. And you might suddenly feel more energy, like frustration. Rah, great. Frustration's arising. Breathe into that too. Maybe a roar comes out, whatever. And then come back to breathing. Notice how the mind wants to start thinking and say, I hear you, and just say thinking. Just labeling, thinking. Oh, that's the thinking dimension of me. Great. Let me come back to the breathing dimension of me. Let me be with myself. And it's just applying this like Mother A energy to yourself again and again and again and again and again, like watering a seed over and over again. And rather than going, oh my God, what is the seed going to grow into? What's going to happen? Am I ever going to blossom? Is my life ever going to become what I want it to be? Stop. And just stay with your breath and realize that in doing this a few times a day, you're watering what I call the diamond self, the seed of the diamond self, which is the you who I assure you is the one you have been waiting for your entire life. It's the most amazing dimension of you that is absolutely infinite and naturally attracts the highest possibility into your life. So as you connect with this real shine time, you know, just like breathing into your body, just notice how you start to feel, and notice how when you draw your awareness from thinking about the future to actually feeling what you feel and letting yourself express what you feel, which is all in chapter 4 or step 4 of the book. Highly recommend having a flow journal, which I've talked about in other videos. I believe it's definitely in the Diamond Process book. It's starting to really allow these orphan children to express themselves. So like really, this is such a deep, beautiful path, and it's not like something that happens overnight. To me, I look at it as a lifelong journey. I'm so excited to meet who I'm going to be at 70. I'm in no rush. And I know that the more I can breathe and, let's say, meditate daily and really come into the no mind, like really coming into that still awareness inside again and again, the highest potentiality of who I'm here to be is naturally unfolding. And that beautiful baby that's crying has a chance to actually become who she's really here to become. So the more that we can integrate those parts of ourselves, the fight ends. And so what was once weighing us down starts to lighten and brighten. Like anything, with love and light, with attention, healing happens. So that healing starts to happen, that transformation inside. And so we become a lot lighter naturally. And actually the things about ourselves that we may not like start to reveal the blessings. They start to reveal the grace and the inspiration and the gems that are in there. Like, you know, personally, the parts of me that I've deemed as like crazy, let's say, like totally nut balls, I've discovered through the years is just this amazing creative force in the world that is able to move mountains. I honestly got so still from just breathing that I know right now any words I share with you are not going to have any value in comparison to me sharing with you the treasure tool to just focus your path around the present moment. Come into your breath and into meditation as much of the time as possible. Like really commit to a meditation practice and to being present. And if you don't have time in your schedule right now, the best thing to do is to, whenever you're taking a shower, washing your hands, peeing, using the toilet, washing dishes, any of the things that you do every single day, use those moments to strip away distraction and just come into the breath and really feel the water as you wash your hands. Come into this mindfulness practice, breathing and bringing your attention on something specific. Just focus, like a drishti is what they call it in yoga, a focal point. and dropping out of thinking. You notice yourself going into a story about the future, bring yourself back, thinking. Bring yourself back to the water, being present with yourself, just like you would be with that little baby that was crying. Just being so present. Nothing else in the world exists, but the water's flowing out of the faucet. The sponge is meeting the dish. I'm present now. Okay? And so as you deepen in this and really weave this into your life, it becomes a habit. And as that becomes a habit, you start to land more and more into the present moment. And as you land more and more into the present moment, you become fundamentally present, so that then you start using the mind to vision, to create, to pay your bills, to do the to-do list, all the things we need the mind for. This is an amazing instrument. But when we're completely scattered and lost in the mind, and the mind is just like swirled like a hurricane, and we're totally disconnected from the moment and our physical bodies, that's when all kinds of issues arise, like depression, anxiety, lack, feeling depleted, overwhelmed, financial distress, relationship distress. It's all because we have lost touch with our breath and with the moment. And this sounds so simple because it is. So it's migrating from the complexity of the modern world into the simplicity and power of the true world, the truth that you are inside, and then bringing that into the modern world and starting to inject our world with your amazing, powerful presence. We all know those people when they walk into the room and it's like, poof, a light is on. What is it about them that's different from everyone else? They're embodied. They're here. They're fully engaged. They're not in their mind like, oh my God, what is somebody thinking of me? Oh my God, oh my God. They're like, I'm here. I'm the whole expression of who I am, not to prove anything, but because I am grounded in this moment and I trust life. And the easiest way to start trusting life and to befriend life is to trust yourself. And the easiest way to trust yourself is to come home to your breath, to come home to the moment again and again and again. The only reason we ever feel lost is because we're lost in the mind, in an illusion of the future or regret about the past or whatever, and that you can't touch that. It's like looking for there's nothing tangible there. So it's like, treading water, looking for a lifeboat, but there's nothing to hold on to. When you come into this moment, in the simplicity of this moment, the remembering happens. A sense of groundedness, a sense of peace, a sense of I am enough just because I exist starts to arise, and magic unfolds in your life. So Katie, thank you so deeply for your question. To sum it up, this path is not about focusing on the shadow. It's about focusing on life. It's about focusing on whatever arises in the present moment. And in the present moment, bliss may arise and depression may arise. So it's rather than saying, oh, I'm only focusing on this, law of attraction, I'm only focusing on the good. It's about bringing the light that you are to everything. And just remember, when you turn on the light, which is who you really are, all is illuminated. So when you bring the light that you are to what seems to be dark, illumination takes place. Just like that screaming baby, you apply love to that baby, and those dark feelings will eventually lift with patience and time and sincerity. So I hope that answers your question. It's a long-winded explanation, but I really wanted to clarify. It's so powerful, and I am so glad that you're enjoying the Diamond Process book. And to anyone out there, if you want a guide kind of moving you through the challenges that you're going through right now so that you can use your triggers to awaken to the truth of who you are, which is the whole purpose of the book, then you can check it out on Amazon.com. The Diamond Process book is available there. And just remember, the whole journey, everything I share is really about returning us to step one of the book, which is the diamond self, being awake, being in the present moment. So the ideal is that we eventually return to step one and live there as much of the time as possible. This is an amazing journey that we all get to travel together. There's no rush. Slow and steady. Trust where you are and know that who you are, your full potential, you are literally seeded with this amazing potential, this divine destiny. And the more present you are in every moment, it's like watering that seed again and again and again until you start to see the blossoms and you start to just become in awe of the shifts. The things that used to trigger you don't trigger you anymore. The same occurrence can happen, and literally the response is different. It's just like, oh, and there's just love and compassion. So I share all of this as in bowing down to you and Katie and everyone who's watching this. May the light within you shine brighter and brighter and brighter every single day. And may you remember that you are amazing. You matter, your life matters, you are valuable, you are powerful, you are a seed of beauty planted here on Mother Earth to shine and fulfill your unique destiny and to reach your full potential, to share your voice, to share your insight, to share your wisdom, and to become the whole magnificent being that you're here to be. So thank you for saying yes, and thank you for shining your light. I'll see you guys next week.